Here we go, boys and girls. After much delay, heartbreak, and sorrow, the Transformers masterpiece Convoy MP-10 review, brought to you by late hours of no sleep and sadness. Ultimate sadness. Anyways, let's get down to it. As you can see here, we have the array of masterpiece convoys. And in the background is Fishing Pole Boy, trying to do something with the Matrix. So, as you can see here, MP-10 fits right in the middle between the original masterpiece, Optimus Prime, and the Faith Leader. That's pretty much what you get. Here he is with my dynamically posed Rodimus. For full reference, when I initially saw the pictures of MP-10, knowing that it was going to get released, I was not that impressed. I didn't like the initial proportions, at least the way they looked in the pictures. It seemed a little off to me. It was definitely anime styling, and I still don't like this new scale. Full height comparison. Standing face to face and toppling over. That would have been hilarious to watch this stuff break on camera. I'd have to pay Robot Adventures royalties for that. Anyways, there they are face to face. As you can see, Rodimus is a hair taller than Prime. Awesome. Whatever. Anyways, so there's the full-size comparison. I'm not going to do any stupid shaking hand poses or anything like that. Rodimus give back the Matrix. Everything goes back to normal, except for show sucks afterwards. More side-by-side with PP-01. A lot of people like to use the PP-01 as their Classics Prime. I can see why you'd want to do that. Anyways, I'll just keep waiting for something better. So, there you go. After what I said initially about the initial feelings of what I saw from the pictures, I have to say that a lot of that is there that I saw in the initial pictures, but a lot of it works better in real life than it does in pictures. Hopefully it'll work better on video than it does in pictures for those of you who have still managed not to get this. Shame on you if you haven't already, because man, it took me how long to do this video? But that's a complete another story. Anyways, if you notice by looking at him right here, he's got some new proportions going on where he's tapering and coming out. It's very comic book-esque. Well, it reminds me a lot, but not so exaggerated as what they did with animated with figures like Prime, Sentinel Prime. Who else is a good example of that? Megatron, where they took a lot of real comic book styling and forced it onto, something that is mostly geometric shapes. And it works really well on this Prime. That doesn't mean he doesn't have his drawbacks, but we'll get to those. As you saw when I did the unboxing, wasn't too overwhelmed with the figure. That's still the case. The figure does have long arms. The weight of the figure is not really impressive. It feels pretty airy. It doesn't feel like the iGear figure. But it's definitely not the grade of plastic that you expect from masterpiece figures. I don't know where they decided to go with this, but it seems like they're going to try and cut costs as much as they can on masterpiece, which is kind of takes away from the whole point of the line, if you ask me. There is terrible paint QC on this figure. I had heard things about people having QC issues with the arms being floppy. As you can see, I don't have any issue with that. Shoulders and stuff, I mean, in time stuff will wear out, but as you can see, this figure, at least mine, is pretty solid. He's got clicky joints in some spots. Actually, I think that's the only clicky joint. It's just his knee. Anyways, their figure had some terrible paint QC. I don't know how well this is going to show up, but we'll try and get some zoom in action. Do you see this left window? There was no paint on the windshield washer or the bottom of that at all. What you're looking at now is all silver Sharpie. As you can see right here, because you see there's a lot of these scuff marks. I didn't do that transforming the figure. It came out the box that way. Yeah, you don't even want to know what just happened. Somehow 40 minutes of source video ended up only being 14 minutes and 37 seconds. Nobody knows. is the trouble I see. Convoy. Anyways, issues with paint, definite problem. You wouldn't expect it from this kind of figure, but that's what we're getting. Aside from the paint, the figure does have some very nice detail. There's been some trades for things like there's no posable thumb, but he's got a nice little joint thing here that you can't really see due to my lighting. There's detail molding in the plastic that there wasn't as much detail on the die cast with MP-01 on this in comparison. So they definitely tried to spruce up the panels and stuff as much as they could, and they did a good job. This figure is incredibly posable, mostly due to the fact of the exaggerated proportions that I was mentioning. It makes for a really posable figure. When you remove his backpack and reveal his gun that you can transform, you can get some pretty good gun kata out of this guy. He is spent enough time with Christian Bale to do some pretty good gun kata. But yeah, I dare you to pull that off with MP-01. These exaggerated proportions, super long arm, superhero-ish broad shoulders, larger legs, very well articulated, make it so that you can do things like this with this figure. And that's pretty cool. So onto the transformation, because recording this video 5 times is not something I enjoy doing.
Trapdoor was a man. I mean, he was a dragon man. Or maybe he was just a dragon. But he was still Trapdoor! Trapdoor! Burninating the countryside. Burninating the peasants. Burninating all the peoples in the classroom cottages! Classroom cottages!
Excuse me. So here he is, Convoy. They've tidied up the front end a little bit to make it look more realistic. Some things feel slightly out of proportion, but it still looks good. They tried to fix the windows and failed. With this transformation, you just really can't do it. Maybe if they made this shoulder joint out of glass, or clear plastic, and then made this out of clear plastic and allowed that to run through and then painted it right there, they could have a good full window. But in any case, it still looks pretty decent. There you go. As far as QC issues with this thing, this tire isn't cut right. Neither is this tire. Neither is this tire. None of the tires are cut correctly. So that's kind of a big fail on the QC side. But what good is Convoy if he's just a truck? Here is the trailer. There is the full Convoy action. Alright, I'll stop with that. Trailer is pretty nice. The general outside aesthetic of the trailer is the same as the MP4. It's got the same details, just scaled down to match this new size. There is also new detail on the bottom of the trailer that wasn't there before. This is a little connector point. It's done that way because those legs don't like to stay together. If they would have put a circle in the middle of that, they just would have split apart. The little stands that are there that come out, they have a nice little feature. If you see right there, as you swing it out, it raises. Nothing too special, but it's pretty decent. So you take that, you turn it over, and you open it without breaking it. And look at that! Somebody remembered to put Roller in the box this time. So there's Roller. It's pretty nice. He's got some good detail on him. Let's see if we can get the focus working again. There we go. You have the full command base thing here. Does this thing have an official name? If it does, tell me in the comments, because I don't know that it has a name. You can full everything out as before. I don't have an easily accessible alternative to put in here, but you've seen that before anyway, so nothing special there. Spike is in here. There's Spike. Nothing really special, not a whole lot of detail. He's got knees and hips and the shoulder articulation. You can also stand this up and do the repair bay thing. Where does that repair bay deal come from? Is that leftover Diaclone stuff? Because this action here was never in the cartoon, as far as I can remember, with anybody standing in there getting repaired. It would have been nice to see launchers on this command base. The trailer opens differently from MP4. Now this ramp just slides in like a U-Haul rental. So there you go. There's Prime in his alt mode. Masterpiece, Convoy, MP-10, Optimus Prime. Hopefully this review has given you enough of an idea to decide whether this is a figure you want to invest in it or not. At $250+ it's not a cheap buy, but I mean, if you're a collector, and especially if you're like me and you're not really into the movie stuff, it's kind of a drought. And it's a decent enough figure. I have issues with the size, but other than that, I really don't have any real complaints. Other than, in general, this figure feels like if there was such a thing as a G1 leader class figure, this is it right here. It doesn't quite feel masterpiece to me. It's not so much because it's lacking on detail or lacking on paint or anything like that. It's just, it doesn't seem as majestic as the Masterpiece Prime and Masterpiece Megatrons felt, and even Starscream to a point, which you won't be seeing me reviewing MP-11, that's for sure. I don't know if it's because of the size or because of the lack of die-cast in comparison to MP-1, but there's just something about it that it doesn't quite feel like this should be the Masterpiece figure. It's still a good figure, so if you have the means, it is worth the cost. Figure is really posable. I like the comic book hero proportions. Like I said, similar to what you see in animated. If this is a new trend with something that Dakar is going to try and pull off, I welcome it. I look forward to seeing more figures that try and do that. He's got good joints, clicky knees, clicky hips. Everything else is solid. I'm not a fan of the head, but it's very well done. There's nothing wrong with it. I just kind of like the MP1 head a little bit better, but that's just personal taste. I don't know. Let's see what they have in store next. Overall for this, I would say this figure on a 1 to 10 scale has an overall of 7.5. I say that because all of my reviews, I'm going to try and give you some solid numbers to refer to as far as what I feel about the figure. Is transformation. The transformation on this figure is good. I give it an 8. It's very similar to the MP1 transformation, but in my opinion, that's probably one of the best transformations for Prime you're ever going to get. And since it's just a modification of the MP1 transformation is an 8. QC, I'm a little harsh on it by giving it a 5. The reason I say I'm a little harsh on it is because when I give this QC rating of a 5, I'm taking my figure plus other reports that I've actually been able to witness of other people's QC issues. So in my figure, my QC wasn't that bad. All I had was bad paint. Other people's figures had loose joints, bent antennas from being mispackaged, and a few other things that, you know, really should not fly with a figure that is in this price range. The look and feel of the figure, I give it a 7.5. It feels solid. It feels sturdy. It doesn't feel like if it falls over, anything's going to break. But once again, it feels kind of on par with like movie leader class figures where they're not quite as sturdy as something that is labeled masterpiece. In my opinion, it should be. But all in all, it's still quality. Posability, 8.5. This figure is got some amazing posability. You saw the Genkata pose. You see how just standing here, he manages to pull off some effects of being, you know, tucked in abs, broad chest. It looks like he's ready to pound somebody. Playability, I give this a 9. This figure, because of the posability, has very good playability. Good transformation plus good posability is almost always going to result in a high playability. And I give this one a 9. So like I said, overall 7.5. Maybe not on the top of your list, but it should still be on your list. Alright, well that's it. This is the end of my first review. Let me know what you think. Any suggestions for something you want to see a review on? Chances are I probably have it if it's not movie related. And we'll see what happens. Alright, you guys. Later.